Hey, welcome back to another video for Java for Selenium. In this video, we'll mainly discuss classes and methods. This is one of the most important part in this series, and if you understand these concepts called classes and methods, we are going to discuss objects as well. So these three keywords you need to remember, and this is the most important topic. If you are not understanding this, maybe you can revise this topic twice, thrice, and if you still have any doubt after watching this video, then let me know. So I will try my best to cover all these. So agenda for this video will be what is class, what is methods, what is objects, calling methods, using objects, and finally a program. So what is class? So class is an entity which binds data member and member methods into a single unit. So this is a technical definition. So let me explain this. What is data member? First of all, data member is nothing but the data type which you are using. Data type, like let's say you're using integer, float, decimal value, any decimal value, long, short, string. So these will come under data member. And member methods means your functions or methods which you are writing. Let's say you are written a method calculate EMI, calculate home EMI, calculate marks. So this will be a member methods. So class is an entity which binds data member and member methods into a single unit called class. And class is the best example of encapsulation. So with this topic, we are starting our first object-oriented programming concept called encapsulation. Now you must have an idea now encapsulation, encapsulating everything into a single unit. So class is the best example for encapsulation. In other words, this is the actual uh, technical definition. A class is nothing but a blueprint or a template for creating a different object which defines its property and behavior. So again, very typical definition. So if you check, it says which defines its property. Properties like your data members, integer, float, double, char, and behavior means the methods which you are writing. So class is just a template for creating objects which defines its property and behavior. Now what is methods? So methods is just a block of Java statement which perform a particular task. So why methods are very important? Because methods will help us to rewrite the code, reuse the code and avoid the code duplicacy. Let's say I need to calculate EMI 6 times. So in spite of writing 6 times code, I can write a method called calculate EMI and I can call this method. In the same way, what we need to identify what task we are repeating. So based on our requirement, we can create a method and we can call them. So methods will increase the reusability of your program and it will avoid the code duplicacy. Some of the examples: start browser, close browser, create circle. So these are the tasks which we have to perform regularly. So in spite of writing code, we can create a method for them and we can call them. So we will create some methods and I will show you how you can reuse them. One point to be noted, methods can be called using dot operators, and this will be the syntax to create methods. First, you need to specify access specifier, or you can say access modifier. So we have four access specifier in Java: public, private, protected, default. Don't worry, we have a separate video which will discuss on this. Then you have to mention static or non-static. If you don't want to specify static, by default it will be non-static. So this keyword you don't have to use. Then return type. What method will return? So return type, you need to mention. If you do not have any return type, you need to mention void. The main purpose of this return type is, let's say if you want to use this method and this method will calculate some data and you want that data. So we'll use return type. So we have a separate video which will discuss on the return type as well. And the final one, the method name, parenthesis and curly braces. Inside this you can write your code. So some of the example, let's say I have one method public void calculate marks, public static calculate marks. So the first method is non-static. For non-static, you don't have to mention any keyword, but for static methods, you have to use the static keyword. So what is now static and non-static? Don't worry, we'll discuss later. Now, what is object and syntax? So before jumping into program, I want to cover all the theory parts. So an entity that has a separate state and behavior is known as object. Again, the same wordings we are repeating. So state is nothing but the data type which you will use inside your Java program, and the behavior which you will create certain methods that will be the behavior. So take one real-time example. Let's say Mukesh, me. So I have my state like my name, my phone number, my driving license, PAN card number. So this will be my states, and behavior will be blogging, swimming, singing. So these are nothing but a methods if you see. And state means the data type. So how you will create objects for this? So you need to write the class name first, then space, object name equal to new class name. So example, let's say I have a class called calculator. So I will create calculator, calc. This is the object which I am creating equal to new and calculator. So facts. If you have a non-static method that we have to call using dot operator, and if you have static methods, you can directly call them using class name, and again using dot operator. So this was our last program, so let me close it. Let's create a separate package called class demo. So let me create our first class. I will say first class demo. So by default, you will get one main method. So this is our class. This class also have the access specifier. And as of now, it's public, but soon we'll get to know public, private, protected. To create a separate class, we need to write a class keyword here and the class name. Then this class will start and this class will end. In the same way, we have a method called public static void main. As we know, it's the starting point of this program. So this class does not have any data member now. So let's create some data members. Let's say I have one X and I have one Y value. So this will be known as the data member, or you can say this properties. Now let's say I want to create a method and this method will perform operation of two numbers. So let's say I have one method called public. First of all, I will need to write the access specifier. Let's stick to public. This is non-static, so I will not specify. Return type is void. Void means this method will not return anything. And method name is sum, or you can say addition. Curly bracket start, curly bracket end. Now let's say I have a equal to 90, int b equal to 100, and I want to do a basic operation int c equal to b minus a, or let's say b plus a. And once we are done, I will say sum of two numbers is c. So if you see closely, I have a method which perform a particular task, which add the two numbers and it will print this. I have two more variables. As of now, we have not used it. That's perfectly fine. Just to show you, this is the state and this is the behavior in technical words. Now let's say I need to call this method, or I need to calculate sum of two numbers. So these are the methods which I can call again and again. So right now it's a non-static because we do not have any static word. To call this method, we need to create object of this class. So right now, nothing is in memory. So once you create object of this class, then only these states and behavior will be activated. As of now, these are the dummy class, which does not have any entity. So once you create object, automatically these variables will take memory in your RAM, and this method you can call. So how to create object? First, you need to mention the class names. In our case, class name is first class demo. Object name, I will create object as obj1 equal to new. Again, class name, so class name is first class demo. Once you create this object, now you have the flexibility to call this method. So now using dot operator, we can call. So if I put dot, you can see I'm getting the x and y variables as well, which we have created on top. As of now, I am not interested, so I will use this obj1 to call this sum method. And I will finally end the program. And before starting the program, I want to say program started. So as we know, the main entry for this program will be public static void main. So when I run this program, it will say program started. It will create object of it. And using this obj, I'm calling one method called sum. So control will jump here and it will initialize these three variables. It will print and it will come back again. Then it will print and program. Now let's say you want to, first run this just to check how it works. And you can say program started, sum of two numbers is 190 and end of the program. Now how to access these variables? So these are again non-static. So if you want to use them, you can again use this obj object. Either you can directly call them, you can keep x and y, or you can use them directly using object obj1 dot x, and it will, sorry, this o should be small, and in a similar way obj y. And if you want to add any comment here, you can say x value is this and y value. So when you run this program, it's printing everything like program started, it called that method, x value, y value, and it's ending your program. Now this is working fine, but how exactly internally it's working? So let me draw paint. This is really very important to understand how this works. So when you create object, so let's say this is our object called obj1. When you create object, it will get the memory allocation for x and y. So it will create x here and it will create y here. So x and so x will contain 90 and y will contain 100. So when you say obj1 dot x, it will return you 90, and when you say obj1 dot y, it will return you 100. So when you create object of that particular class, it will allocate the memory of that x and y which you have created here. And you have one method called sum. So this sum method also have two variables. So when you call this sum method from obj1, it will create memory for the variables which you have used, and you can call this method and it will perform the desired operation. So this obj1 is actually handling all the methods and the variables. This is the internal part, so if you are not able to understand, that's perfectly fine. So this is how it works. What if I have another object? If I say, if I create one more object of the same class, this time I will say obj2, and if I call this again, and this time I will say obj2, obj2x, and obj2y. So whenever you create object, so obj1 we already created, and this is obj2. So let's say this is obj1 and obj2. So obj1 and obj2 both will have a separate memory for x and y. So whenever you create object, they will create a separate memory space for their variables. So obj1 will have the x and y, and obj2 also will have separate x and y. So the idea is when you create multiple objects, each time it will create a separate memory space for these x and y. But if it is a non-static, if these methods are static, then we have a different scenario that we will discuss later. As of now, we have seen if our method is non-static, we can directly call them using class name, sorry, object. How to create object? First class name. Our class name was first class demo. Then given object name equal to new and call them. And in case if you want to access these variables, you can use this. So with this thing in mind, let me show you one more thing. Let's say if I have another class, and this class is calculator class, and I will not take public static void main because I don't want to run this particular class. So this class have four methods. First method is public void sum, and I will write it performs addition. In the same way, let's say if I have one more method called subtraction. So I will say this method performs subtraction. So now if I want to use this class, so this is a separate class calculator. It has two methods, sum and subtraction. So now if I have another class, see this is separate example. I don't want to test this, so I'm creating separate examples. Let's say if I have one more class, and this time I will say second class demo. And now I don't want to create all the methods which has been created. So as we discussed in this one, first class demo, if I need to access any method, I can create object of that class. So let's say if I need to access calculator, I will say calculator obj1 equal to new calculator. So when I create object of this calculator class and our object name is obj1, I can say obj1 dot sum and subtraction. So you can see even if I'm in the another class, I can create object of another class, and using this object I can call their methods. So right now this class have only two methods, but using the object I can access. And let's say this calculator have certain variables. Let's say this class have x, or let's say this time let's take some string data. Name, I will say Mukesh, and I will say hobby, I will say YouTube. So if I want to access these variables, so it's very easy. What I will do, I will say objects and I will say name is using this object obj1 dot I will say name. So using this obj1, I'm able to access the name property of this class. And if I want another property, if I put dot operator, I can get the hobby as well. So if I run this program, so you got the importance of creating object. Even if I have multiple classes, I can simply create object of them and I can call their methods. This is what exactly we are going to do in Selenium. We will get certain libraries from Selenium, guys. We will start creating object of their libraries. So let's say they have one separate class called Firefox driver. I will create object of their classes and we will start using their methods. So now you got a clear picture how to create object, how to call the methods, how to use their properties. Properties nothing but the data members, and how to call methods from another class. So we created a separate class today, sum and subtraction. We have some dummy data. From another class, we are able to call using the objects. This is really very important topics. So before ending this video, let me show you one more concept. This is really very important and you will enjoy it. So let's say I want to copy, I don't want to write the code again. So I will copy this and I will say advanced calculator. This time I don't want to create, I don't want to give static method, oh sorry, non-static. So I can make them as static methods. Only thing which you need to add this static keyword. And if you remember my PPT, static method can be called using class name directly. But if it is a non-static, I need to call them through object. So fact number one we have discussed. We'll discuss the fact number two. I have the same scenario. I have static methods now. Now if I want to create, let's say I have another class called third class demo. Now I know the advanced calculator which we created. It have all the static methods. They don't have non-static. So you will get to know one new concept now. If I call directly using class name, so class name was advanced calculator dot, and again I can call the another method called advanced calculator dot subtraction. So you can see now I have second class. In this class we have added, like, we need to create object because the method which we have are non-static. But if methods are static, you don't have to create object, you can directly give the class name. So this is the class two methods, subtraction and sum of two numbers, we have directly called them. So if you run this, you'll get the same output. It performs addition, it performs subtraction. So we have so many facts and figures for this class objects method. Just stay tuned. In the next videos, we'll discuss what different functionalities, different features. And as of now, you have seen we are passing the hard-coded data here. It's 90-100. What if I need to pass certain parameters? So like if anybody want to use this methods, they can directly pass the parameters and our method will perform the operation. So we'll pass some parameters and you will get to know some new facts. So if you're still not aware of class objects methods, static, non-static, then let me know, comment in, in this video. And if you still have any doubt, you can mail me. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.